Hey everybody, so glad to be here, particularly today. I am, like many of you, are struggling with some of the news that came out today. I've been kind of swirling the drain and then crawling out of the drain intermittently, but I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather be than with you all, and particularly with my friend Angela, who, oh my God, we've been through some of our very worst times together. She's one of my very dearest and closest people in life. And she's going to talk about some really cool, interesting things live from Australia. And it's so good to see her face. So, Angela, please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Everyone can hear me okay? I have this little talkie stick. It's great. All right. So I have got some slides. I'll put them up in a second. Whether we get through them all or whether we sort of follow them doesn't really matter. We'll see how we go. But you all, as far as I'm concerned, you've all got access to the slides afterwards. So hopefully there'll be something in there of interest. But yes, so as Dawn has so beautifully introduced me, I am in Australia. I was born in Scotland, but moved to Australia when I was 18 months old. So this is home. And I've got 30 years experience in community services and recently started my own business. So holistic therapy is what I do. And I'm really excited to talk about that and also just share a bit of my, I was going to say neurodiversity journey. That's not quite right because apparently I've always been neurodiverse, but recently diagnosed. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Really, really welcoming everyone to jump in if you have anything you want to share, anything you want to talk about. I know personally, if I'm listening to somebody and I'm like, oh, I really want to share something, or I want to talk about this, and then it goes on and I forget. And then at the end they go, any questions? And I'm like, oh, I did have stuff, but I've completely forgotten. So just, chuck your hand up or jump in or do whatever works. Yeah, let's I can get the slides up and we'll just see how we go, but sounds like fun. Hopefully everyone can see and hopefully everyone can hear. Excellent, thank you. Thumbs up, that's beautiful. All right, so my business is called House Therapies, and I do need to give you a little bit of background on that just for fun before we get started, because back in, I think it was 2019, my roof was leaking, but I didn't know my roof was leaking. I had actually gone up into the roof cavity to to look for rats or, rot or mold or anything like that, because I was feeling very empowered, having recently ended a 25-year marriage. So I was kind of like, I am in charge of everything now. I better go and check my roof, as you do. So I was poking around up there and I had put my hand in a wet spot. I thought it was rat pee, all right, and I had possums in the roof. I still do have possums in the roof. So possums are a protected species here. So even if I wanted to get rid of them, which I don't, you're not allowed to. They live in the roof. So we do have, so they do clump and thump around up there. Anyway, so I put my hand in this wet spot and I was like, oh no, it's rat pee or possum pee or something. I always remember I'm up there in the dark, crawling around, sniffing my hand. And I was like, doesn't smell like anything. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, it doesn't smell like anything because there's water and my roof's leaking. This is bad. So over the next couple of years, long story short, was me up on the roof repairing things. I'm afraid of heights. So that was really interesting. There was times when I would come back downstairs. I've got a 2-story house. And I would come back downstairs and I would be like just dripping sweat and, like, and my son would be like, oh, wow, must be really hot up there. And I'm like, no, this is terror. So it was an adventure. But the end part of the story, the relevant part, is that when I'd finished and the roof was all patched and everything else, I thought I better paint it. So I painted it white. That was the undercoat. And I was like, oh, that's a bit bright, and I'm on a highway. So it was definitely a traffic hazard because it would glow when the sun hit it. So I thought, I need a more muted color. And my son said, paint it blue like the sky. And I was like, that's a good idea. That'll look good. Painted it blue. And then he said, why didn't you put clouds on it? So it's all his idea. I can't claim any of this. And I was like, oh, no, that's going too far. Anyway, eventually I did. I painted white clouds. So my house is now apparently a landmark and an icon, people tell me. And it's called Cloud House here in our town of Warrnambool, which you can look it up if you're interested, Southwest Victoria. It won't say my house, but you can see where Warrnambool is. Yeah, apparently sort of people use it as, oh, if you go past the Cloud House, blah, blah, blah. So Cloud House Therapies, when I left my job last year to start my own business, I was like, oh, I need a name. And it was sort of like, oh, everyone knows where my house is. So I'm going to be working from home. I will use the name. So that was Cloud House Therapies. That's where it comes from. Neurodiversity in practice are sort of, as I'll talk about in a second, I didn't have a clue that I was neurodiverse. And it's quite funny because looking at my family now, it's quite clear why I didn't know I was neurodiverse, because I was definitely normal, because I reckon my mum has ADHD and autism. My dad definitely has ADHD. My son's been diagnosed now with autism, my other son with ADHD. My daughter is now thinking of being having an assessment for ADHD, but I'd say she's autistic and ADHD. And I started just sort of looking around and going, oh, what's normal for me is apparently not normal for these other people, which explained a lot. So there you go. And maybe there'll be others here who sort of go, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I'm just looking up here at the chat. And I'm like, oh, hang on. I can open the chat so I can see. You can chuck things in there if you want to talk to me as we go along. There you go. Thanks, Dawn. Nice. Okay. Oops. I'm pressing enter and it's not clicking to the next slide. Why is it not doing that for me? There it is. All right, so this is just a little overview of what we'll be talking about, and because I work really, really well with metaphors and with visual ways of understanding the world, I suppose, I've just used for this presentation, I've just used water, the water cycles, imagining it coming down from the mountains into the ocean. So yeah, just a little bit of talking about myself. I like the idea of that being a waterfall, because it was a leap of faith. It was really scary to leave well-paid position where I'd worked in the sector for 30 years, and to sort of go, I'm just going to start a business because I cannot. To explain, I left my job because I was being bullied, like really badly. And there was a lot of sort of stuff around neurodiversity tangled up in that. So I couldn't face the idea of going back into that situation again. So it wasn't something I'd prepared for. It wasn't something I'd spent years getting this business ready. It was very much a case of, I'll do it now. So there you go. We're going to be talking about what I do and why and how. Just briefly touching on us all in it together. I have got a little activity, a little fun activity that we can do a little bit later on, just to give you a little tiny, tiny taster of what it is that I do, which hopefully will be fun, because I use we call it animal magic, just to sort of get, oops, a daisy, I've gone too ahead. There you go. So yeah, I've already sort of talked about this, that I didn't know there was anything diverse about me. I'm still pretty damn sure I'm normal. And these people that call themselves neuronormative, I'm pretty sure that, well, I call them neurobasic. Sorry if there's any neurobasics in the audience. But, yeah, at the end of the day, I don't really believe in any labels at all, to be honest. I just think we're all in it together, whoever we are. But yeah, it's interesting, as I said, looking at people now. The people that I think are normal, my people, my friends, my family, they're pretty quirky. They are pretty quirky. And it's been really interesting journey for me over the last couple of years, realizing more about neurodiversity and where I fit into that and how it's affected my life because of the way that systems, I was going to say how systems treat us, but I don't know. I suppose it's not a deliberate thing. We don't really fit into the systems, I guess. And I found that out to my detriment last year when I was going through this bullying situation at work, because what I did was I went to HR, I went to human resources, and I reported it. And I thought that they would help me. And I had all these bright ideas, and I wasn't sort of going, because they went, "Oh, Angela, what is it that you want to do about this?" And I says, "Well, I don't want anyone being hurt or sacked or reprimanded." I said, "That's not what it's about." I says, "I want to highlight how this has happened and why it's happened and make changes. Let's do this together." And I was really positive about it and really excited about it. I was like, "Yay, let's do some great work." And all that actually happened was it was like a vendetta against me from the executive team and even the CEO in the end, to prove, if you like, that I was incompetent, that I was, well, actually, that I had mental health issues. So they were kind of like, "We're going to prove you're stupid and crazy." And it's just like, not that they said that, of course. It was a real shock. It was an absolute shock. I was devastated by that. I had went in with great faith and trust, and I thought I had really, really good ideas about how we could work together to improve the workplace, to be more inclusive, and to stop this kind of thing from happening. And the more that I started speaking out about it, the more people started coming to talk to me behind the scenes. And this is interesting because I've had this happen before when my kids were at school. But people would ring me at home or come to see me at home. Yeah, thanks, Dawn. It does. Yeah, exactly. It happens to so many of us. And they would come to see me quietly, privately, going, "Oh, this has happened to me. Oh my God, yeah, it's so true," like blah, blah, blah. And I says, "Oh, great. Stand with me." I says, "You don't need to sort of do anything big." I says, I'll be the front person. I will stand up and say we need to do something. Just back me. Just say, "Oh, I saw Angela being bullied," or whatever. And you know how many people stood with me? Not one. Not one single person was willing to do that, which, as I said, I've had it happen before, in the school situation when I've been trying to advocate for my kids who at the time didn't have a diagnosis. They do now, but at the time they didn't. And I was trying to advocate for them. And the same sort of thing happened. Parents would talk to me privately, but would not stand with me. So it is what it is. So yes, it's been a huge learning journey for me since my son was diagnosed with autism at age of 18. So he's, how old is he now? 25, nearly 26. So yeah, it's been a while now. And yeah, I was diagnosed, and then my other son, my younger son was diagnosed, and then the next son decided he was going to get an assessment done. I still didn't realize that I was neurodiverse. Never occurred to me. I was kind of like, "Oh, look at this. I've got all these neurodiverse kids. How odd." But yes, I guess the key thing for me was that whole, although we sort of talk about autism as if it's sort of something that defines somebody like red hair, it's just this massive spectrum of diversity, which is really cool. And yeah, we can recognize each other to a certain extent, but we have so many different skills and special characteristics. And I've got all sorts of theories around some of this stuff, and some of it I've thrown into this presentation. And as I said, don't hesitate to jump in if you've got something that you want to share. I'd love to hear from people. So don't feel that you have to listen to me go blah, 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 blah. We can We can share the floor. And yeah, I'm just going to read out that little quote. I'm sure you can all see on the screen there, but I loved this quote from my son. So early on, we had our sort of he had his initial assessment, as in we talked to the specialist psychologist who was doing his assessment, and she basically said to me straight away, she was like, there's 2 minutes with, she says, and I'm very, very confident he is on the spectrum, she says, but we obviously have to go through the whole diagnosis, and we had to wait, I think it was 18 months before we could get the whole thing done, because it ended up being during COVID. So, but yes, we did go to an autism conference together, and when we came out, I said to him, what did you think? And he goes, oh, Mum, he says, it all makes sense now. He says, I'm not broken. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm autistic. And he was over the moon. He was so excited about it. It was, I didn't realize back then how hard it had been for him at school, because I guess he was shutting down a lot, and there was a period of time in his teens where I actually thought that he was taking drugs. Like I was getting really worried about it because he was shutting down more and more, but he was doing that because he wasn't understood at school. He couldn't communicate. His needs weren't getting met. He was being bullied. And he didn't really have anybody that was listening or understanding or aware. So yeah, that was a horrible time for all of us, but it must have been absolutely horrific for him and so isolating. And I think he's super brave. And he's the one that probably should be here talking, because I admire him greatly. How he got through his school years, I don't know. He got to the end of year 11. I don't know if it's the same in America or other countries, but here we have a prep year, and then we have 12 years of schooling. So year 12 is your final year. Anyway, got to year 11, and he had been really struggling, and he said to me, because I don't want to do year 12, I want to finish school at the end of year 11. I said, sure, of course, that's fine. Anyway, he got to the very close to the end, and by this time we had started to sort of discuss a little bit about autism. We hadn't had any diagnosis at that stage, but had started to talk about it. So it was kind of a little bit of awareness was starting to arise, which I think gave him maybe a little bit of support, a little bit of empowerment, a little bit of encouragement. And I'm so proud of it, because he turned around one day and he goes, I've changed my mind, Mum. He says, I want to do year 12. And he says, I don't care what my score is at the end of it. He says, I just want to finish this for myself. I was like, oh my God, like that's amazing. So he did get through year 12. It was really a massive challenge for him. And he certainly didn't get any scores that were going to get him into uni or anything like that. Not that he's not capable. He's actually really, really smart. But just the amount of social pressures that he had trying to get through, I think, was overwhelming. But he did it. So I'm really proud of him. Yeah. Yeah, relate to that. Yeah, diagnosed with ADHD and autism as an adult. Yeah, me too. Convinced my mum is ADHD. Me too. And autistic. And my dad. Yeah. And the first in the family to enter the mental health industrial complex. And after 30 years, we've landed on neurodivergence. Yeah. Yeah, well done. Totally relate to all that stuff as well. And it's an interesting thing too, like just that journey, just to go off on a little sidetrack here for a second. My older son, he's overseas at the moment. He's been over in Scotland for the last 6 years. But before he went, he had rung me up and he goes, Mum, he says, I'm really worried. I'm going to go to the doctor and see if I can get a brain scan done. He was convinced that he had a brain tumor, and he was actually really scared. And he says, I'm having so much trouble. He says, I can't remember things. I can't focus. And, and he was listing off these things. And I was like, oh, well, maybe you do have a brain tumor. But at the same time, I'm thinking, and I think I said to him, that's normal, love. Like that happens to me too. All of those things you're listing, that's normal. And he's like, I don't think it is. He says, it doesn't seem to happen to other people. And I was like, oh, all right. I says, well, and he goes, and at school, he says, I used to have a lot of trouble at school. And he says, and he was sort of talking about, homework problems, but also, losing focus in the classroom. And he says, I think there's something wrong with my brain. He says, so I'm going to go and get some assessments done. I said, yeah, cool. But he wasn't meaning ADHD assessments. He was meaning, I think there's something physiologically wrong. Yeah, Dawn, thank you. Yep. You also thought you had a brain tumor. It seems to be a recurring theme because went off and he did have some tests and whatnot done. And they were kind of like, there's nothing physiologically wrong with you. And then it started to be, I think we might be looking at neurodiversity. And again, same thing happened to a friend of mine who lives nearby. And she was the first person who kind of started highlighting it for me, I suppose, because the same. She was like, oh, I think I'm worried I've got a brain tumor. And also went and had tests for that. And then we were talking about the things that she was worried about. And I was just like, that's normal. What are you talking about? Like, all these things are normal. And she's like, it's not. And yeah, she did go and get tested and is autistic and ADHD. And she was like, and you go and get tested. And I was like, yeah, maybe. I don't think it applies to me, but yeah, okay, fine. I'm definitely normal. So yes, anyway, brain tumors. There you go. Hopefully none of us have got a brain tumor. Oh, yeah. I just like the little worm. Autism, one word attempting to describe millions of different stories. Although I think we're already, oh, there you go. Yeah, that's had brain surgery and that caused the autism to be overlooked. And there you go. Wow. Again, yeah, as I said, I love metaphors and the little fishies in the ocean. We know we're all fish, even though we might be different shapes and colors and sizes and all the rest of it. So I love that we do have that community, even though we're all different for all things. All right. So, oops, daisy. I'm sorry. Now I've just lost my screen. Did that go for everybody else or just for me? Sorry. I clicked on something that's made it all change on mine. No, how to get it small again. Oh, well, never mind. I can see all your faces now. That's cool. So what am I trying to say here? Yeah, I guess it's just a case of as I went along, I started to realize that, yes, sensory responses, processing differences, all of that kind of stuff did indeed apply to me as well. And certainly as time's gone on, I've realized that I've spent my life masking. I've become very, very good at it, apparently. Which makes me a bit sad. I was actually, I did a video chat with a friend of mine yesterday who is also recently diagnosed as autistic. And, I said, I'm not masking anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. It's really sad. I don't get fake friendliness. I do not get it. And I see this all the time in professional settings where I think people are nice and friendly and kind because I take people at face value. And if people are smiling at me and being friendly and, oh, welcome, come in, I think, oh, they're nice and they like me. And this is a safe place. And I just respond to that and trust them. And often, unfortunately, apparently it's this fake facade that I honestly don't get. I can't do it. Thankfully, and I'm glad I can't do it. I'd far rather be authentic. But I remember many years ago, my daughter was probably, oh, crikey, I don't know, maybe 15 at the time, that scathing sort of a time that kids go through where they think their parents are idiots. And I remember her saying to me, oh, Mum, can you not pretend sometimes? Because if you don't like somebody or you're angry at somebody, the whole room has to know it. So can you just hide that? And I says, why? Why would I do that? As if, you know, if I'm not liking somebody, then I think they should know that. There are grey boxes over the text that keep showing up. Oh, really? Let me see if I can view. It must be because of the thing. Let me see if I can change that. Is that any different? No. Maybe. Whoops. No. Oh, now we're getting all. Now it's just gone crazy and I'm totally. Hang on. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to try and stop sharing. All right, let's see if I can reset that. The boxes do change shape and place. Black boxes covering the text. So I assume that's
the last ones you showed, Angela, the last slides you showed that you said were going crazy, they did not have boxes on them.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Hold on. I'll just try putting that over to the side a bit. I don't know if this will work. I'll try this. Hang on. Just got to get the share button back. I think I need to have one of those things, you know, where you have two screens, two computers. That's that kind of high-tech stuff. Let's see if this works, if I move this over. How's that? Can you see? Can you see that without?
That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. I can.
All right, let's.
There's a gray box on the very top, but it's not interfering with the substance of the slide. So.
Okay. All right. Oh, sorry about this, Mike. I'll just. Look at me, just, you know, being a technological non-wizard. Love it. Slideshow. Oops. Slideshow from current slide is what we want, if it would just work for me.
I mean, this looks really good. We can see the stuff at the top. Oh, no, it's back.
Ah, now it's gone back to being like that, and I don't know why, because I didn't want it to do that.
Well, if you just want to, can you do it in that screen? Just since people could see everything, you can just scroll through with that.
Yeah.
That might work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I'm only following it loosely anyway, so we're, yeah. Cool. So long as you can see it and it gives me a reference, and I'll just keep going blah blah blah. It's funny, isn't it? This technology stuff. Many years ago, I was working at a drug and alcohol center. I was there for 10 years. And the boss, you know, the CEO, he said to me, he says, can you please just take care of the audio visual stuff? Hilarious. Like, last person on earth that should be asked to do this. And I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Let me help. And so he got in there and he's like, all right, there's the computer. You'll be fine, right? And nobody, that was it. He went off and I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm like poking around with it. Got the little slideshow up and, you know, we had the big screen for it. I was like, yeah, okay, plug this little thing in here and we're good. So he got up and he's like, blah, 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 blah. And it was sort of going to get to a certain point, and then he was going to, you know, give me the nod sort of thing, and I was to turn on this, this presentation. So I thought, yeah, everything's all ready. And I can't remember what happened, but everything just froze and I couldn't get it back, like it wouldn't work. And I'm just sitting there and the whole audience is watching. I think it was our annual general meeting or whatever. So, you know, there was a whole heap of people there and local politicians and all sorts of things. And I was just like, so we're just going to stay really calm. So I turned the computer off and I'm just sitting there smiling. Came back on and the CEO's blah, 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 blah. And then I got it back up and got this presentation back up. And he went, and I went, click, and the damn thing worked perfectly. And at the end, he come over and went, oh, thank you so much. Like, that helped heaps. And I told him what had happened. He goes, what? He goes, you didn't bat an eyelid. He says, you didn't flicker. He said, I had absolutely no idea there was anything wrong. He says, you restarted the computer. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Anytime you need any, technological assistance, you come and see me. But it was just interesting. I often sort of look back on that, and I'm sure a lot of you will relate to this. Problem solving is my thing. Crisis is my thing. Give me a situation where something is, and my brain just clicks, boom, like that. And for me, it's like it's going through a filing system, and it's sort of like, that one, take that, yep, and we'll do that. And I can solve problems really, really fast under pressure and deal with really, stressful situations really, really easily, which I guess is, it's fun being neurodiverse, right? So on to the next. Okay, well, this is just more stuff about what I was talking about already. I don't think there's anything that I haven't already said in there, but it's just all about that being diagnosed and that journey and everything I've just all talked about. I just think I'll just read that last little bit because that amuses me. That when I was diagnosed, I told everybody. I mean, why would I not? Why would I not? And I remember a couple of people saying to me, "You're not saying that at work, are you?" I said, "What do you mean? What the hell do you mean for that?" And they're like, "Oh, don't say it at work." I says, "Why not?" And they're like, "Oh, well, they might sort of, in other words, they're going to think that you are stupid," was what they were saying. They didn't use those words, but they were kind of like, "Oh, you start talking about being neurodiverse and you will be treated differently and you won't get promotion and you won't be respected." And I was just like, what the hell are you talking about? And I've just written that little thing there. Yeah, I was the same high achieving, problem solving, but somewhat socially awkward and irritable and impatient and passionate and hyper focused and chaotic and emotional and confused. All of the things that I was before I was diagnosed. Nothing changed. And this is, but people need to know. They need to know. We need to be speaking about this. It's just many years ago, more years than I want to count, but when I was in primary school, this is bizarre. Like I look back on this, it was not socially acceptable to talk about cancer, which I think is the strangest thing. People did not talk about cancer. They would say things like, "Oh, Mary's not well." And you'd be like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And they'd be like, "Oh, oh, no, I don't know. What's wrong with Mary?" Mary had cancer, but they couldn't say she's got cancer. And then, as time went on, it would be quite a few people I remember saying things like, "Oh, it's the big C." So it was all right to say it's the big C. And I guess it was scary because, there wasn't sort of as effective treatments back then as there is now or whatever. But yeah, people didn't talk about it. And then, of course, mental health was the next thing. And you definitely didn't talk about mental health. You would never say that you had depression or anxiety, let alone schizophrenia or bipolar or anything like that. God help us, you would never talk about things like that. And it went on like that until, thankfully, one of our politicians, the Premier of, I live in Victoria, the Premier of Victoria, actually came forward and talked about his journey with depression and founded the Beyond Blue foundation, founded the foundation, which changed everything because when he started to speak out, other people then had permission or safety to speak out as well. And so, we could not only talk about cancer, but oh my God, we could actually talk about mental health as well. Not that meant it was acceptable, but at least we could talk about it. And yeah, just sort of, I guess my point is that I'm seeing the same thing now around neurodiversity, that we're starting to talk about it. It's becoming more normalized, as opposed to have those conversations. But unfortunately, even though I was just diagnosed, God, last year, it feels like 100 years ago, but last year, yeah, that was the response that I got. Don't talk about that at work. And I was diagnosed and I was given medication, which I found really helpful in the early stages. It sort of wore off after a while, but in the beginning it was really, really good. And so I used to talk quite openly about that at work. I'd be like, oh, they gave me this medication and it's really fantastic. And I find it a lot easier to focus and I can remember things like meetings. Fluff you, seeing as how nobody would actually help me with the reminders I asked them to give me. And I always remember my manager at the time, who was the one that bullied me, by the way. And I had just sort of lightheartedly, somebody went, oh my God, like, this is fantastic what you have done, this presentation that you've done for this blah, 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 and this work you've done. And I just laughed and I said, oh yeah, I said, well, you know, I'm medicated. I thought I was being funny. I thought it was funny. I still think it's funny. And I saw the manager's face and it was just so, you know, like, you know, like I was something really repulsive under her shoe. And I caught that and I just sort of went, you're right. You're right there. Because, you know, I don't do the fake stuff. So anyway, that's all right. I will continue to fight discrimination on all fronts. So I finally decided to be assessed, because I think at the time when I started the journey, I think 8 of my friends had been diagnosed. And at this stage, I think I'm up to, I say 13, but it's been more since then. I think it's up to about 15. So no wonder I thought I was normal. I am normal, but it was because everybody, literally everybody around me was also neurodiverse. And, you know, the psychologist, or the psychiatrist, sorry, that did the diagnosis was like, oh yeah, like, and he also is neurodiverse, as it turns out. And he goes, oh, we travel in packs, you know. It was really lovely. So anyway, but yes, blah, blah, blah. So I love that analogy, and I've sort of jumped ahead here. So I'll just jump back to this little cartoon that you've probably seen. But yeah, for a fair selection, everyone has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. And I just think that's so great, because the way that I look at it is I was a fish being asked to climb a tree. So yeah, I am, you know, intelligent and educated and qualified and creative and all of the things. But at times, if you put everybody into the same testing or measurement, whatever, then yeah, it's like being a fish asked to climb a tree. So, and a fish being asked to climb a tree will always be judged as lacking. So my idea around this is the real test is to find the true nature and genius of the individual fish, which is moving us into the work that I do, I guess. That's me with a mural that I did in a friend's driveway. I've got a very similar one on my driveway, because I'm also an artist and an author. Because, you know, us neurodiverse people, we do lots of stuff, right? We don't just do one. We don't just do one thing, which is why quite a few of my friends are counselors, and like I've got a psych degree and a qualified counselor and blah, blah, blah. But I'm also a registered fitness therapist, and I'm also an art therapist, and I'm also a massage therapist. And I am qualified in all of those things. But when you sort of say to people, oh, I'm doing this multimodality therapy, then they look at you kind of like, oh, so you're one of those dodgy people that's doing stuff that you don't really know how to do. I'm like, no, I know how to do that. I've now got a whole wall where I've got all my qualifications stuck up on the wall, because I'm like, I did it. Because apparently you're only meant to do one thing, but that's not how it works. So I've just thrown this in here. This is a going off a little bit, but hopefully some of you will relate to, because it interests me. This is just a thought that my son and I talk about this a lot, that if we talk about the communication quotient, that if everyone has an equal, and the reason I'm saying equal is because I've heard this talked about in a derogatory sort of a way, insofar as, autistic people being put down around this. Oh, our our communication quotient isn't as good as other people. Supposedly, I don't believe that, but I get really frustrated, and I've got a particular person in mind, and it's the son of a friend of mine, and he is, if we're talking about the autistic spectrum, then he's sort of, up this end because he's non-verbal, and so his communication quotient would be considered to be low if we, use that scale. But to me, I think, all right, well, what about if we look at it another way, and if everyone's quotient is equal? My theory, and I know that some of you will definitely share this, Dawn, that where is the rest of our communication tapped into? I believe it's tapped into something else, that it's tapped into another consciousness or another dimension or another reality, or that it's been left behind somewhere because, I don't know what life is and death and all of that kind of stuff. But if we came from somewhere, did we leave something behind? Have we tapped into something else? Or have we gone on ahead? Are we in, multiple dimensions? And I don't have the answer to that. It's just something that I find really fascinating. And certainly with discussions that I've had with people with autism, often my own children and my friends and my family and so on, there's got to be something. There's got to be something there. As I said, this young man that I'm thinking of, I watch him and how he interacts with the world. And in my opinion, he's highly intelligent. Well, he is highly intelligent, but he doesn't do the verbal communication. And I just wish I knew how to tap into that communication with him, because I reckon he'd have stuff to teach us that we haven't got a clue about. It's just a thing. If people have got more on that, I know we won't have time today, but tell me your theories, because I think there's some really interesting stuff there when we're talking about research into autism. And I know, Dawn and I have had discussions about this kind of stuff, and there's just so much more out there. As we know this. We know there's multi-dimensional stuff, multi-layered stuff. There was another lad who lives here in Warrnambool, and my son and I go out running most days, and we often see this lad. And it's hard to explain. I see him and I feel like he's communicating with the environment around him. Like, I've watched him and how he's sort of, I don't know what he's doing, but it feels like he's connected to the trees and the thing. I don't know. He might just be on drugs, but I don't think so. I don't think so. There's something going on, and I feel like he's tapped into something. Yeah. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about, but just wanted to throw it in because it's something that fascinates me, and I know that others do too. So, two of our most brilliant presenters were non-speaking. Oh, okay, fantastic. Yeah, nice. Thanks, Dawn. If two parties have challenges communicating, the miscommunication is always equal double empathy. Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so yes, again, I'm just, that's just more blah, blah about what I've just said. But yes, the possibility of tapping into other time and space and recognizing familiar and the unknown. I think that as people on the spectrum, autistic people, neurodiverse, whatever you want to call it, I think that our ability or a potential to do that is perhaps more accessible than to what is considered neuronormative. A friend of mine who I sort of mentioned briefly, she's just spent a period of time in a psych ward, and we've been doing a lot of talking about this, that it's hard, you know, like the bullying at work and the stress that she's also had through her workplace and things like that. It's just an extra challenge that we have to try and get through. And I said to her, I says, I fully believe that as neurodiverse people that we are the signposts out of the swamp. And doesn't mean that people are going to follow it. But yeah, I think we've got capacity to tap into something so much more. And I know that you guys sort of understand what I'm talking about, or many will. I don't even know what I'm talking about myself, but I just know it's real. It's true. Yeah, I think there was something else I wanted to share about that. I'm just trying to remember what it was. It came up as I was talking about the other lady. Something someone had said. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'll come back to it. Oh yeah, look, I've even written it. There you go. See, I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Signposts out of the swamp, uncovering and showing new ways and directions. And yeah, people might not be listening to us all the time, but I still think it's really important, and I still think that we've got a job to do and that we are here for a reason. What have we got? Meeting reminders would be so awesome with every method to get to the meeting. Yeah, exactly. What do you mean? Something like putting meetings in your calendar and setting one or two reminders. Having Alexa, yeah, that's how I do it. I've been keeping track of my son. Yeah. So yeah, happy to pause and have a little discussion here around these meeting reminders, because this was one of the major things that was compounding the bullying at my workplace. I mean, it was much deeper, much more horrible than all of this, like really, really bad. Like I was being micromanaged and everything I did was wrong. And I was constantly, and I mean constantly, getting dragged into the manager's office for lectures, and frequently there, you know, way past the time I should have went home, or yeah, it just went on and on. It was way more than this. But what I had repeatedly asked for before I was diagnosed was, when I'm busy and there's a lot going on, because I was managing a team, and often, yes, I knew that there was a meeting in, you know, half an hour or whatever, but then one of my team would come to me and go, oh, I've got a bit of a crisis, I've got this happening. So of course I would help them with that. And then maybe I'd have to make a phone call and do some emails and support that person and blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot going on. And then, you know, you look up at the clock again and an hour's gone by and you've missed the bloody meeting. So when I'm talking about reminders for meeting, I'm meaning physically coming and getting me. So I can have all the reminders on my phone that I want, and I do. And I went and got myself this thing. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called a skylight calendar. Wonderful thing. Love it. I've got it in my kitchen, and it's this beautiful little touch screen. It looks like a tablet, I suppose, but it's just a calendar, and it's touch screen, and you can tap on it and put in appointments and reminders, and it links to my phone, and they come up on the phone as well. So I've got that, and very, very easy to use. So it's not a lack of reminders. I've got reminders. It's when there's other things that I have to prioritize. I'm not going to remember that the meeting exists, even if I've had a reminder 5 minutes before. If something happens in that 5-minute period, I'll forget that the meeting even exists. So it's, when I was asking for reminders, I was meaning, yeah, come and actually literally get me. And they wouldn't do that. Like, they actually refused to do that and told me that it was my responsibility to get to the meeting on time. And I said, no, my responsibility is to look after my team, and that's what I prioritize. If you want me at the meeting, which, I mean, to clarify, I got to most meetings, but sometimes I didn't. I said, just come and get me. Just come and get me. It's not that hard. Or ring me. Ring me. Where are you? We're starting the meeting. This is I will come if I'm able to. Anyway, they wouldn't do that. So yes, that was what I wanted. And to clarify as well, there was this made it even more, this was where the bullying came in and made it even more discriminatory, because there were times when I would get to the meeting and my manager would not be there, and I would go and get her because I knew that she also was busy and I didn't want her to be humiliated or whatever, but she wouldn't do the same for me. So anyway, but yes, definitely. And I talked to one of the managers at our organisation at the time and explained how I was struggling with it. And she, bless her, used to send me text messages, and often that was all I needed. She would just be like, "You're right, we're just about to start." And I'm like, "Oh shit, come." But anyway, but yes, I agree, Dawn. I get so frustrated when people say, "Why don't you just?" It's like, far out. I used to say to my manager, "Do you think I'm deliberately missing the meeting or being late?" Of course, I don't want to be late, but as I said, I have things that I must prioritize because other people are involved and they need me. But if you need me at the meeting, you need to come and get me, or ring me. Just ring me and say, "It's starting, get here," whatever. I found it very disappointing, the attitude. Anyway, on we go. On we go. How's my time going? I feel like I've babbled a lot, but I think we're going okay for time. We're going okay? I think so. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Let's get on with it. So this is great because that brings us into exactly what we're going to talk about, which is multimodality holistic therapeutic services. And as I said, what on earth is that? That is a mouthful. So this is interesting too, because people have been saying to me, now that I've got my own business and I have the freedom to do exactly what I want to do, and I'm now answerable to no one except for my client, which is, in my opinion, how it should be. And we work together as a team, and I have this really flexible, person-centered therapeutic service where we can change our mind in the middle of a session and do something completely different if the person's needing something different, because yay, being neurodiverse, my brain can do that. It's no problem. I love that. So being a fitness therapist and a massage therapist and a counsellor, I've got 30 years experience, as I said, in community services. So I've worked in disability and child and family practice, mental health, and drug and alcohol. So I've got this perspective, a broad perspective, I suppose, and this brain that can jump around from things really nicely. And when I talk about holistic therapy, I'm talking about all of the things: mind, body, spirit, but also flexible to the person, flexible to the time, flexible to the space. And what have I written there? My aim is to support, encourage, guide, and provide information and resources for people to address issues, process problems, achieve goals, and navigate life in a powerful and positive way. So when people come to me, I say to them, I don't need to know what's happened to you unless it is helpful for you to tell me. Then by all means, but I don't need to know. Although I'm a counsellor and I've got a psych degree and blah, 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 I'm not a big advocate for talk therapy. I don't think it's particularly helpful. I think it has a place, but I think it has a place within a more holistic framework. That's my opinion. Some people might love talk therapy. Crikeys, if you've gone out there and had exclusive talk therapy and found it useful and long-term sustainably effective, wow, I'd love to hear from you, because I don't know anyone, and I certainly haven't had that experience myself. And yeah, I think there has to be more. We have to be using the body and integrating our body into the environment, all of the things. I love this stuff. Thank you. Love the holistic approach. Yeah, me too. So what I call it here at Cloud House, because Cloud House Therapies is the name of the business, and obviously it's got pies at the end. So I talk about a therapy pie, and you're getting to choose your own unique flavor and mix. And the therapy pie is made up of whatever you want. You can have blueberry, you can have apple, and you can have, I don't know, whatever it is that you want. I'm vegan, so there's definitely no beef and there's no chicken because we're not cruel to animals here. So it'd have to be jackfruit and, I don't know, plant-based protein. Put whatever you want in your pie, but there's no animals. So anyway. And that's funny too, because I make it really, really clear to anyone that comes here that, yeah, there's no dairy products here. And I run groups here as well. I run a group for women who have had the experience of abuse or violence in their life. To me, it's kind of like, really? Is there someone who haven't? But yeah, that's the group that I run. And I'm like, yep, there's snacks and there's tea and coffee, and the milk is soy milk or almond milk or oat milk. There's no dairy, and don't bring your own. It's not welcome here. I had one lady go to me, oh, can we contribute to the snacks? No. And she goes, oh, why not? I said, lots of reasons. In other words, I want to know what's coming into my house. So yes, I'm very, very open and unapologetic about being a very, very passionate animal rights activist as well. Which people tell me that I should be modifying that. And I'm like, yeah, no way. Because you know what? If the person that's telling me I should be modifying it for animals, if they were in trouble, I'd be fighting for them just as passionately. So anyway. Okay, so and there, yeah, that's the important thing, that's what I'm sort of telling people, that I'm offering sanctuary and safe space for everybody, and I don't mean everybody as in every human, I mean everybody. You won't be able to see it behind me, the window behind me, we've got some beautiful, very beautiful spiders. I think Australia maybe, although I know America's got heaps as well, but Australia seems to be known for its creepy crawlies, you know, spiders and scorpions and all that kind of fun thing. So we have some magnificent spiders, but they never leave the window. They just live there in the window, and they do catch the blowflies, because I won't hurt the blowflies when they come in, and if they fall into the web, they fall into the web. So that's, we all just live here in our little ecosystem. So yeah, there's nothing there that I haven't already talked about. I spent 10 years at the Drug and Alcohol Centre and ran the day rehab there, teaching cognitive behavioural therapy, but in a much more holistic way than what we were sort of taught to, I suppose. Yeah, this is kind of what we are talking about. So I do have that cognitive behavioural therapy approach in there, because what I say to people, okay, sorry, you can have the slides, and I've got a website, so all of the information is on there as well. So yes, art, music, movement, sensory techniques and tools, all of that. See you fun at your next event. Yes, spiders. I love spiders. I've got spiders tattooed on me. So when we're talking about creating this sort of individualized program and a holistic therapy approach, we can be sensory seekers or sensory avoiders. I'm sure you all know this. We might be actively seeking a particular type of sensory input, also actively avoiding another. Certainly my son, I used to be very worried about him again when he was a teenager and he didn't want to go outside. And I thought, oh my God, he never leaves his room, his darkened room. But it was because he was sensitive to light, he was sensitive to sound, he's sensitive to texture, he's sensitive to everything, poor bugger. But there it is. He's found his own way now. He wears a hat, he wears sunglasses, and he doesn't wear shoes. So yeah, I've already talked about all that. Clicking on. Is there any one size fits all? No, I think I made that pretty clear. It really is working with the individual. What are the feelings? So when we're talking about the feelings, what I tell people all the time is there's no good or bad feelings. It's just a feeling. and we honor them. It's all about honor. I use that a lot. I do have a lot of friends in the Indigenous community, so I've maybe sort of picked up a bit of, yeah, that kind of way of working with things. They are very much about honoring the self and honoring the environment, honoring the animals. So, but yes, then when we've got the feelings, we're working with them holistically. So drawing them, dancing them, singing them, lying down and crying them. Wrap yourself in a blanket with them, smell them in the roses, feel them in shells, stones, yeah, texture. Create them, stay with them and feel them. And the important thing, I think, and what I sort of tell the people I'm working with is that they're not forever. They're not something to get rid of, and they're not something we're going to be stuck with. We honor them, we feel them, and then we gently bring them back to that safe, calm sanctuary, I suppose. So we use mindfulness, we use meditation, breath work, relaxation. So when we're talking about sensory regulation options, we've got obviously auditory and visual and tactile. Not even going to try to pronounce that, but body awareness, balance, movement, taste, smell, and social relational stuff. So as I said, it's not just holistic to us, it's holistic to us in the environment and the community and all the layers of the environment around us, whether it's people or whether it's the actual physical environment. So when we started at the very, very beginning, when I talked about that waterfall and the streams, and heading to the ocean, and that we're all fish in the ocean. So we're talking about that diversity, but we're all fish. So let's play a game and we'll see if we can find each other in that vast expanse of diversity in the ocean. So the program that I sort of have developed, I call it Leave No Emotion Behind. And you're the leader in your personal quest to find and honor your emotions and getting to know them as helpers, because when we have an emotion, it's just a message. We're just having a message, and then we can regulate using animal magic and grounding skills. So that really, this is all my work in a nutshell, this one slide that we've got there now. Okay, so this is where everybody gets to have a little go, I suppose, and have a crack at this in a very, very simple, quick way. So I've put up just a few little pictures, and I want you just in your head, or you can write it in the chat if you want to, it doesn't matter. You just choose an animal, just have a look at those. And right now, as you are feeling right now, what animal are you drawn to? What's resonating with you? What are you sort of thinking? Ah, yeah, that's cool. So once you've got your animal, we'll just move on. So the special traits of each animal, as I said, this is just, actually, if I can pull that back down, we can sort of see both of them there. The dolphin, for instance, they're using sound to communicate and navigate. The owl, it's got amazing eyesight. It's adapted to low light situations. The bear, to me, there's strength, there's groundedness, there's protection. There's also the hibernation aspect of the bear as well, which I find really, really fascinating, because we also have that withdrawal and nurture yourself. The elephant, body spatial awareness, it's that big, heavy, or taking up a lot of space. It's got that strength. Kangaroo, balance, movement. Dog, keen sense of smell and taste. The wolf, strong family units, loyalty to pack. And then imagine, this is the magic. The shark, oh yeah, I love sharks. Absolutely. Yep. Snakes is another one for me. Like, people will often be like, oh, I hate snakes. I'm like, are you kidding me? We've got these magnificent wild animals that we actually get to see. So excellent. I love that people are thinking this through and picking an animal that resonates with you. Wonderful. And then what you do is just imagine how your chosen animal sounds. I'm just going to read you what I've written here because I don't think I can say it any better than I've already said it. How it feels to touch, perhaps how it smells. How does it look when it moves? When the sun shines on it or the wind blows over it? Really imagine this animal, embodying this animal. Is it moving quietly or loudly? Is it bold or shy? Is it in the darkness, in the air, the water, the earth? Imagine how it feels to be the animal that you choose. Imagine moving like that, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting. How do you feel? What emotions are in this animal when you imagine being there in its body and its mind? Maybe it has some words to tell you. Maybe just a sound or an image for you to remember. Maybe you want to move like your animal. So take a moment just to try and immerse yourself. So if I was working with someone, excuse me, if I was working with someone at this point, we would incorporate that into the session. So often we start by drawing it. It may just be color. I have a fitness space, a fitness therapy space as well, where although there's fitness machines and all that kind of stuff, there's also a huge space that my son set up to do martial arts. He practices martial arts. And we move. So it's about moving like the animal, incorporating that. And then because it's all about emotional regulation as well, we would start thinking about how that particular animal might be regulating emotions. But I'll have a look at that in a minute. Oops. So if we think back to the little pictures that we've got there, I've just got some examples here of how those animals could be used to regulate things, whether it's sensory seeking or sensory avoiding, doesn't matter. We still can use that animal. So the dolphin, for instance, noise cancelling headphones, or it might be music, or it might be white noise in the background. The owl, we might relate that to soft lamps, lava lamps, wearing sunglasses, calm, simple images. The bear, weighted blankets. The women's group that I run, we have several weighted blankets. We have weighted teddies. We have little pillows. We have all kinds of things because that weightedness can provide a lot of comfort. Texture, fidget, compression vests. The elephant, lifting, resistance bands, controlled slow movements. So I won't go through them all. You can read them there and relate it or relate to your own animal that you've chosen. So Dawn, it comes to mind you can only touch sharks in one direction because they cut the other way. Oh yeah, with that rough skin. That's interesting. A significant feature about me, perhaps. I'm loving and fierce to protect people. I love that. Yeah, cool. And I love that you've sort of highlighted that too, and honoring that aspect, because that's coming back to what I was talking about before about not masking. And I don't mean just not masking in a autistic sense as in, to trying to fit in, but not masking an aspect of ourselves, instead just being holistically ourselves. And that's okay. All right. Oops. So what do you think of the animal magic you were led to today? You are warmly invited to share what the animal you chose means to you and why you chose that way. It may be very different to the way that I matched up the animals, and that's okay. That's only an example. When I'm working with somebody, we do it on a very individual basis. And although the person can have an animal that they relate to individually, as in, well, I guess, you hear people talking about the spirit animal or whatever. So, it can be like that. But we also work to assign animals to emotions because often often a particular emotion will have an animal, and then we work out regulatory activities around that particular animal for that emotion to bring it back to the safe space, which can be your spirit animal. I'm calling it spirit animal because that's just a familiar term. Now, Dawn, you want to share? Got a hand up, so Do you want to unmute and go for it?
Thank you. I chose the bear, and I think I was relating to the bear because I can sometimes experience I guess slow processing where the events are happening and around me, but I might not I might not necessarily um, know how I feel about these events happening around me until some varying degrees of time, and then and yet I also have this you were talking about earlier where when there's pressure, when there's external pressure, emergencies, these kinds of things, I can be very quick on my feet and get exactly where I need to go and get done what needs to get done, so to speak.
Nice.
And so I think that's um um so that's what I was relating to. And then I saw that you had made some suggestions, like, so if you chose this bear, maybe try weighted blankets. And that's interesting to me because I've always kind of like just my bedding liked heavier weighted things rather than these kind of fluffy options that are out there. And I'd rather just layer up a bunch of blankets, and even though I know that down is insulating or what have you. And I guess something that I struggle a lot with emotional regulation. I actually had a borderline diagnosis before, even though I suspected ADHD since childhood. I actually had a borderline diagnosis before either ADHD or autism. And I'm saying this because I do have a question about because I struggle with emotion regulation. And I have a weighted blanket, but I don't remember when I'm dysregulated to go get the weighted blanket. So I guess this the last thing you have, what are some sensory strategies that work for you already? I am very much just still trying to figure these things out.
Yeah. Yep.
I I've been light sensitive all the time, and it's always been looked because I had brain surgery at 13. I have a Chiari malformation. If that's come up with if anybody knows that is, there's kind of a link. But what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say, is that I didn't all this time. I wasn't thinking that my sensory environment could be adding so much to my emotional regulation. And so I struggle. I guess it's patterns. It's just like I'm an adult. I'm 45. Like I just have to. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of rambling now, but I
No,
guess
no, it's good. No, no, no. I love that you just.
It's because I can answer this. Oh, really? I can answer this. What I mean is I can share stuff that I use with people that I work with, specifically around, I don't know if you can hear the sirens outside. My goodness. Anyway, something's going on out there. Yeah, sorry. I love what you've just brought up because it's really important. How do we actually remember those regulation tools when we are in a state of dysregulation? Really good question. My first answer, which has nothing to do with my therapy, it's just personal, is I've got it tattooed on my arm. So, like seriously, tattoo it on your arm. There it is right there. So
That
separately, I want give fast tattooed on my knuckles because I have a lot of DBT training, and I think that part of DBT is good for communication. Sorry, I digress. I interrupt.
No.
you're absolutely fine. No, please. I love it when people are interacting and exploring. But yes, what I do with the people that I'm working with is we actually assign, because I go out to the person's home as well as here in the office. So we go out to the home and we have a look in the garden and we have a look in the house, and we assign an area to an emotion. And then there's not just, it's a whole process. So it's not an overnight thing. You don't just kind of go, oh yeah, it's something you have to practice every day, is what I'm getting at. So this is a long-term thing. It takes time. But there's a space that's assigned to it, and then there's an animal, and then there's a color, and there's a movement, and there's a sound. There's all of these things that are assigned, and then we use signs as well. So I mean actual blatant written on the wall signs, as in, you know, bear might be angry, or one person that I worked with, rhinoceros, was the animal not, they didn't assign to themselves, but they assigned to anger. So to give you an example of how it works in practice, if they're feeling angry, I'd teach, first of all, the first step is when you're feeling the emotion to start to practice awareness of where you're feeling it in your body. So this particular person has become really good at this. For instance, it might be, oh, if I'm sad, I'm feeling it at the start, at the beginning of my throat. If they're feeling sassy and cheeky, they feel it at the back of their head here. If they feel anger rising, it feels like the throat is expanding. A lot of it for them is around the throat area. For some people, it might be more, lower in the body, or you might be feeling it in different spaces. So there's a lot of steps to all of this. It's not, as I said, it's not just something that you go, oh, this is what you do, go and put signs on your wall. There's heaps of layers to it. But yeah, one of the things that you're practicing every day is trying to pinpoint and be aware of where you're feeling that. So it's kind of like, oh, feeling that feeling. And then with this particular person, we'll use this because it works really well. So they're feeling that throat expansion, which means that anger is rising. And they have a movement, because what we do is, for the emotions, we put together a bit of a dance as well. There's so many things that we do with this. But yeah, the movement is this kind of becoming bigger. And for them, this is the rhinoceros. And then it's about honoring that emotion. It's about saying, yeah, I'm angry, and I am going to honor it, because there's nothing wrong with any emotion. So we're not going to suppress it, but we're also not going to let the emotion be in control. So if you think about a rhinoceros, for example, and if the rhinoceros was in control, then it would be destructive. The rhinoceros might go through walls and knock people over and hurt people and hurt themselves and all that kind of stuff. So it's about, yes, I honor the rhinoceros, but we're going to do it safely. And one of the simple things that this particular person that I've taught them to do in these situations is put their hands together and press really hard. So it's like the rhinoceros pushing its head against something, but it would be less socially acceptable to be going and pushing our head against a wall. But you can do it much more sort of surreptitiously if you're just pressing your hands together. So it's that way of honoring the emotion in a way that's safe and helps to regulate. It's about, there's a lot of things I want to say here. There's trying to teach things that are always accessible. So using the body, and although a weighted blanket is absolutely fantastic, the chances that we are going to be triggered and experiencing the emotion of anger and have a weighted blanket on hand, for instance, are slim. And it's something that we can do later. We get home, we're a bit more regulated, and we can do that to look after ourselves. But in the moment, it's about recognizing for this person that the throat, they're feeling that sort of expansion, and they can use, for instance, the pressure of the hands. Depending on where they are, though, the other thing that we do, using like perhaps a drum or boxing pads or boxing glove, boxing, what do you call them, hanging down things? Boxing bag. And not letting the rhinoceros go wild. So we're not just going bang, 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 like crazy. It's like, right, we're going to regulate, and we're going to use that strength and power of the rhinoceros to stay grounded and regulated in our body and keep our mind focused. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, keeping the thinking part of our brain engaged, for instance. And then with, again, using this particular person as an example, because I've already done a lot of work with them, so we've got a lot of stuff in place. There's an area out in the garden, a particular tree that's the anger tree, and once they're feeling like that, obviously, so long as they're at home and they have the opportunity to do this, they can go over and push on that tree, for instance, and using all of the different things. They have a color for anger, so when they get there, they're looking for that color, which for them is red. There's a noise that they use, so they don't have to do all of them, but there's just lots of different strategies. And likewise, there's a place in the house, but we also have a peaceful place, a sanctuary, a safe place. So they honor and express the emotion safely and then lead the emotion to the safe place. So they're actually actively doing it in real time. So using the body to move to the safe place, the sanctuary, which at that point might be wrapping themselves in a blanket because they've regulated, they've brought themselves back in or kept themselves in the thinking brain, and they can remember to do that. And yeah, I guess what you are asking is that it's when we have sort of flipped our lid and lost touch with our thinking brain, and we're in that survival brain, are we going to remember the strategies? No, we're not. So we are trying to short circuit before we get to that point as much as we possibly can by having that awareness. Oh my gosh, I can feel the heat rising in my throat, or I can feel my tummy churning, or my chest is getting tight, or oh, I'm having trouble thinking.
You said interjection is okay. I just in a
Yeah, please.
said that they struggle identifying emotions but understand animals, and I think for me, it's easier for me to ask myself a question: what animal comes to mind right now, than what emotion comes to mind right now. This makes sense to me. It doesn't, and then it doesn't matter where the weighted blanket is, right? Because that's the tool is the question I can answer.
Yes, 100%.
You've got it. You've got it. That's exactly it. We've got all these things, and it's what is going to work for you in that moment, sort of thing. And yes, the entire sort of theory of it or program of it is that we are matching, for instance, anger to rhinoceros or whatever. But 100%, they do not need to know in that time. It's just they're aware that, oh, they're feeling hot and all the rest of it. We're going to press our hands together. They don't need to remember why they're doing it because we've practiced these things.
Oh, yes. And the movement and something in therapy, there's something, the somatic aspect, something in the very traditional therapy that I've had is missing, and I'm trying to advocate for or just teach myself. Sometimes like DBT does a little bit, like they say for do wall sits or just I run in place, but to me what you're saying, identifying with something. For me, honestly, I'm a plant person, and I may just translate this whole thing to the plant kingdom or do a mashup. I don't know, but what's making, and now I'm starting to lose my I think what's making the movement, and that so if I identify the animal or non-human thing, I can ask what are its strengths, what are its needs, like, because I know how to grow, I know things about plants, what their needs are, and then that can inform, right, what I can maybe do with my body, like I can't think of something right now, but like you're saying, press the hands together, and it makes sense, the rhino, but I'm not, I can try this. Yeah.
As I said, it's not something that happens overnight. It takes weeks to build this, and we do it in small steps. So be kind to yourself. It's and you're talking about plants. I mean, a great one might be water. Having a drink of water, a great way to regulate. A cool drink of water helps us to regulate. wind, sunshine, the things that would be interacting with the plant. So I love that. And then the roots going down into the ground. So
Okay, I'll throw this in for you. I'm sorry, I don't want to
Please, yeah.
take this over, but one actually, I've had a lot of different of in-person residential PhD, all kinds of stuff. But one one clinician was asking me to just if I could pick a plant that was my mom, what plant would she be in? And if I could pick a plant that was my dad, what plant would they be in? Because this clinician happened to know plants too, and it was informative. That was like one of the it's a hard sometimes to find therapy, especially you mentioned this earlier, talk therapy that is effective, and there's I can the moments that have been effective I remember, and this identifying the clinician that was able to work with me to identify these kinds of things, and it helps because when I thought of the plants um and just I'm repeating myself, just the strengths and the weaknesses in that moment, the work I was doing, it helped build compassion for my parents and them trying to do the best that you know that they could with what they
Yeah.
had. So
That's fantastic.
fantastic, and I love that. And thank you. That's something I'll incorporate into sessions as well. That hey, if you're not resonating with animals, what about a plant? And as I said, we do use that because we do go out into the person's garden, and I get them to pick a plant which will relate to all the different emotions. And often people will be like, "Well, there's a cactus, so that's anger or whatever it is that they choose." But also, yeah, there's some really good regulation stuff there. So that's great. And I love, relating it to a person. What plant would be your mother? I love that. That's really, really helpful. Thank you.
So I
you.
want to jump in really quick and say we usually have a hard stop at an hour and a half, but
Yes.
I don't know how Roger feels. I feel like this area of therapy is particularly important for autistic people because we do tend to identify with our environments holographically and animals holographically. And I think might have wanted to take a turn, and if there's someone else, I don't want to cut off people in the very heart of your talk. So if we could keep it short, but have everybody take their turn, that would be awesome.
Well, I was going to mention that kind of my spirit animal that I see as my dragons there. It's kind of my spirit animals.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, I see him. I've got a tattooed dragon on my back.
So,
Oh, you do?
I relate to the dragon as well. Nice. Thank you. And yeah, look, there's a little project for everyone. If you don't know what your spirit animal is, for lack of a better way of describing it, have a think about that. There's your Easter weekend project. What is your spirit animal, and
like that.
to you and to your emotional regulation? It's a bit of fun. There's some things there that I've just sort of scribbled up on the animals that are a fun way to explore sensory regulation. Remember, as I said, that we could be wanting more sensory stuff from that particular area, or we might be wanting less, but we still are regulating that particular emotion in a sensory way. So I've just got movement, Reiki, incorporating talk and art therapy. Great way of doing it while you're drawing. You can be talking. You can talk to yourself. I do. Sand play, journaling. I love sand play. I love texture. I love being able to feel stuff. It can be all sorts of things. You'd be out in the garden feeling the texture of bark and grass. I also love movement. I think that's a great way. Dance, musical instruments. telling stories, meditation, mindfulness. Always, as I was saying, always think about at the end of it all, whatever it is that you're doing, you're leading that emotion that you've been working with, or that situation, or whatever it is that's going on for you, back to safe place. And although I encourage people to have a safe place in their garden and in their home, remember the safe place ultimately is inside of you. That's your core is your safe space.
I was just saying at another session in the last couple of weeks that I wanted to teach martial arts to women and children survivors of violence. And
Yes.
but it's so intimidating. And I actually ended up in Japan at just the right time. I went to see the snow monkeys. And they were doing every single movement in the style of martial arts, but they were doing it playfully. And so I completely retooled the program so that people could act like monkeys, and it transformed their lives. Like, we have those blueprints within us that need to be activated so we can literally move through our emotions and move through trauma and
Yes.
strategize like that.
Yes, I love that. And that's, oh my God, yeah, martial arts, brilliant. As I said, my son does jujitsu, but also has, dabbled in several other modalities as well. And yeah, can't encourage people more. do movement, and martial arts is a great way to do it, because exactly what we were talking about with the rhinoceros. We don't want the rhinoceros to be a wild rhinoceros crashing through walls. We want, yes, to honor and express, and martial arts is a brilliant way of doing that. Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, look, I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about, really. My website's there. If you want to go and have a look, I really need to tidy it up. It's pretty chaotic, but there's lots of information on there. Feel free. And yeah, I'm more than happy for, as I said, people to have slides. Contact me if you wish. My email address, which for some reason I didn't put on there, is just House Therapies. I put it in I can put it in the little message thing, can't I? Whoops. I can stop sharing that now.
Oh, can you hear me?
Hang on, I'm just trying to get rid of that. Can you
See me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Oh, what was that device you were talking about? Something with the calendar? Like touchscreen?
It's called the Skylight calendar.
Skylight?
Skylight, yeah, Skylight. Yep.
Oh, okay, I have to look at that. Sounds cool.
It is amazing. Yeah, I love it. It's really handy. So yeah.
I wanted to mention that one of our colleagues who specializes in autism.
Are you still there, Dawn? It's broken up for me.
I lost you for a second there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
So I was saying that one of our colleagues that specializes in autistic burnout is spearheading a summer of self-care between our academic years this summer. And I would love for you to come talk to us about the animal thing. I think it's really resonant.
That'd be amazing.
And I'll just put you in touch with her, and you can talk about when you could come and talk about that.
I would love to do that. Thank you so much. That would be great fun. That'd be an honor. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for everything you shared today. It's always just a pleasure to listen to your positivity and all of your wonderful ideas, and everywhere your mind goes is beautiful. And I know everyone felt the same. So yeah, we'll have you back this summer, and that would be great.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Thank you so much. I've chucked my email in there if anyone does want to email to ask anything or share anything or whatever. I'd love to hear from anybody and everybody. Please feel most welcome. And
thank you so much.
The website, I think it's cloudhousetherapies.com or .au.
.com.au. So www.cloudhouse. I'll write that in there. Therapies.com. Oops. .au. I can't
For
spell.
Australia, right?
You can also, I know that's a long, it's AngelaArt.com will also get me. That's in the
And
chat.
people need to, I can definitely guide them to you since I have your info. Yay.
Yay.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. I feel so much better than when we started. Thanks again, Angela.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Dawn. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.